Rain. It fell in sheets, blurring the lights of Paris, each drop a tiny hammer against the pavement. The air, thick with the scent of wet stone and distant coffee, did little to lift the city's melancholy. Sarah huddled deeper into her coat. Another night, another empty café. She'd come to Paris for inspiration, for a change of pace. Instead, she found herself surrounded by lovers, their laughter a stark contrast to her own solitude. She traced patterns on the fogged glass, her reflection a pale ghost staring back. The city of love felt more like a city of longing. A tear slipped down her cheek, lost in the steam rising from her mug. Outside, a figure dashed through the rain, seeking refuge. The bell above the café door chimed, announcing his arrival. He shook the water from his hair, a rueful smile on his lips. Even soaked to the bone, he possessed a certain charm. Their eyes met, a spark of recognition in the shared experience of a rain-soaked Paris night. Antoine cursed his luck. A flat tire, of all things on this night. He'd been rushing, late for a meeting that held the promise of his dreams. Now, soaked and with a useless phone, he found himself taking shelter in a small cafe. The warmth enveloped him like a hug. The aroma of coffee and buttery croissants filled his senses. At a corner table, a woman sat alone, her face obscured by the dim light. He hesitated, then approached her table. Antoine. Excuse me, mademoiselle, my French is terrible, but I wonder if you might help me. My battery, she is dead. Sarah looked up, startled. He was handsome, with kind eyes and a disarming smile. She put down her book, her heart beating a little faster. Sarah, of course. Let me see. He joined her at the table, their fingers brushing as she took his phone. A jolt of electricity ran through her. She looked up at him, a blush warming her cheeks. Sarah, don't worry, it happens to the best of us. He laughed, the sound rich and warm. Antoine, not usually on nights like this. I'm Antoine, by the way. Sarah, Sarah. There was an easiness between them, a familiarity that belied their first meeting. He told her about the meeting, the dream he was chasing. She spoke of her writing, her search for inspiration. Hours melted away, measured only by the emptying coffee cups and the gentle rhythm of the rain. She learned of his childhood in Provence, the scent of lavender fields forever etched in his memory. He listened, captivated, as she described her grandmother's garden in England, a riot of colour and fragrance. With each shared story, the space between them seemed to dissolve. They were no longer strangers, but kindred spirits drawn together by fate and the magic of a Parisian night. The café was nearly empty now. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and shimmering. Still, neither of them made a move to leave. Sarah, I should go. Her voice was hesitant. She didn't want this night to end, but what future could there be? Antoine? Yes. His tone was equally reluctant. He stood, pulling out his wallet. Antoine, let me at least pay for the coffee. Sarah, no, please, it was my pleasure. She didn't want their connection to be reduced to a transaction. He smiled, understanding in his eyes. Antoine, then allow me to walk you home? She hesitated, then nodded. They stepped out into the night, the air fresh and clean after the rain. Paris, no longer gloomy, thrummed with a newfound energy.